Islam, Shalom, Hola, Osio, I.S.L.A.M. Bonjour, Aloha. This is your brother, Tarik Bey, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live and in full effect. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and hit that notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I'm dropping new content. Leave a comment, interact. Thank you, I really appreciate it. Peace and love to all the Muslims, all the Moors, all over the world. Let's get some studying in. Commercial Law Applied, Learn to Play the Game by David Robinson. Let's see. All right, we're talking about debt validation today. Debt validation, the ultimate weapon against the collection agencies. I hope it's legible. I hope everybody can see. If a collection account comes into your life, you've heard about it in one of three ways. One, it came up as a listing on your credit report. Or two, you received a telephone call from a collection agency. Three, you got a letter in the mail. All right. So you could try and settle the debt with the collection agency, but you might want to try debt validation first. Very wise. The best defense against debt collection is often debt validation. Why? Because the collection agency may not even be legally entitled to collect a debt from you. Very important. They may not be legally entitled. Let's see why. You, Joe, Bob, and money borrowed. Let's say you borrow money from your friend Joe. Joe would be the creditor, all right? The creditor, since he loaned the money. All right. He's the creditor of the debt, he's the original creditor. And let's say time has gone by and you think you might still owe Joe money, although you're not sure how much. One day a guy named Bob comes up to you and says that he is collecting the money that you owe Joe. Bob is acting like a collection agency for a credit card company would act. Think about it. Having never met Bob before, would you just hand over your cash to him? No, or at least I hope you would not. You should have these questions in mind to ask Bob, all right? So to ask the collection agency. If they attempt to contact you via any of these three ways, you see it on your credit report, they reach out to you through a phone call, or send a letter to your corporation. All right, so let's keep going. What legal documents exist to prove that Bob, the debt collector, is legally authorized to collect money from Joe? How much is the actual debt? What payments have already been made on the account? Where is the accounting of the debt, including all interest and fees? Very important to ask these questions and get clarification. Are these fees and interest amounts legitimate? Do I really owe Joe the money? You remember borrowing money from your friend Sam. At the same time, you remember paying one of them back the next day. Is this the debt you borrowed from Sam or from Joe? Where is the contract showing the terms of the loan with Joe and the contract with Sam? At the very minimum, you should phone Joe or Sam to ask about the loan. You should have the same thoughts about the collection agency who sends you a bill for a debt that you may or may not owe. Don't panic. If you receive a phone call or a letter from a collection agency, your first reaction may be to panic. Calm down, think about the situation. Ignore all the fancy language, the legalese, and legal terms that the collection agency uses to collect. Think of what questions you would ask Bob in our example. All right, so if you do, you'll know exactly what to ask a collection agency to validate an alleged debt. All right, so you pretty much asking the same questions you would ask some random person coming up saying that they collected money that you borrowed from a friend. All right. So the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act is very important. This protects consumers. All right. Debt validation is a legal procedure which is spelled out by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. All right. Or the FDCPA. It matters if the alleged claim is from the original creditor, which is Joe, the original person you borrowed from, or the collection agency, Bob. That's someone who may have potentially purchased said debt from Joe in order to collect with fees attached. All right, so the FDCPA does not cover collection tactics used by original creditors, like credit card company who issues a credit card. It only governs the actions of debt collectors. All right, so collection agencies, that's how you protect yourself from agencies. Let's look at the definition of these two groups as defined by the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. All right, so Title 8, Debt Collection Practices, subsection 803, definitions, 15 U.S.C. 1692A. 4. The term creditor means any person who offers or extends credit, creating a debt, or to whom a debt is owed, but such terms does not include any person that receives an assignment or transfer of a debt that is default solely for the purpose of facilitating collections of such debt for another. All right, it's very important. I hope it's legible. I hope it's clear. Screenshot if you need to, or pause the video if you need to. All right, so this means that as far as the FDCPA is concerned, a creditor is the original entity which loaned money to the consumer. All right, so the collection agency is not the creditor. The definition of a debt collector is as follows. All right, the term debt collector means any person who uses any instrumentality of interstate commerce, highways, any instrumentality of interstate commerce, or the mails of any business, the principal purpose of which is the collection of any debts, or who regularly collects or attempts to collect, directly or indirectly, debts owed or due or asserted to be owed or due another. So when a collection agency is assigned or has purchased your debt, they are not the creditor. They are debt collectors, and the actions that they take are all governed by the FDCPA. All right, so it's very important here. If a debt collector comes after you, they're not the original creditor. That's just some entity who purchased a debt from said creditor in order to attempt to collect it with fees attached. That's how you protect yourself. All right, so we're moving along. What if the person asking you for money, Bob, is a lawyer? Now we get into some meat, some of that fruit meat, the flesh. All right, so I really hope this is making sense to people. I really hope I'm helping somebody out there. Under the FDCPA, even if Joe hires a law firm or lawyer to collect a debt from you, the law firm or lawyer is still considered a collector. It must adhere to the FDCPA. What does a debt collector need to provide as debt validation? 1, keep these in mind. Proof that the collection company owes the debt or has been assigned the debt. Okay, Bob is legally entitled to collect a debt he owes or has been assigned from you. This is basic contract law. It is very difficult to get a judgment without a direct contract between collection agency and the original creditor. 2, at a minimum, some account statements from the original creditor. All right, it's always good to have originals. You can pin them down on the account of a debt by requiring company payment history, starting with the original creditor. How did Bob calculate these alleged debts? What fees / amounts is required was established by the case? Okay, so Fields v. Wilbur law firm, USC-A-02-C-0072, 7th Circuit Court. All right, that's 2004, September. All right, number 3, a copy of the original wet ink signature, loan agreement, or credit card application. All right, so it's always good to have the originals. Wet ink, always in red. All right, because copies in blue and in black can easily be forged. All right, your contract with Joe establishing the debt between him and you, account statements from the original date can fulfill these requirements. All right, so it's always good to keep all this in mind when it comes to dealing with these agencies. There's some more here, but that's all I want to unpack. That's all I want to unpack for this video. This is your brother Tarik Bey, Indigenous American Moor, and this episode we coming out of not Black's Law Dictionary, even though it's very important to get these legal concepts. Commercial Law Applied. Learn to play the game. Once again, thank you. Peace and love.